important tip and point is I feel like this is, and this is my opinion. I don't know if there's scientific data to back it up. In my opinion, from what I've seen from, whether it's coaching basketball or just leadership positions, the best leaders, the best coaches are the people that connect with their athletes. And that's connecting beyond basketball. That's connecting, that's getting to know their families, what they like to do outside of basketball or said sport that they play. Maybe they play multiple sports. And I think the ability to connect is one of the biggest ways that you can be able to untap their potential, right? I've seen some good quality coaches, some great coaches actually that are very good at X's and O's, and they're pretty good at connecting with athletes. But I feel like if you really want to get the most, squeeze every single drop, you want to motivate athletes, you want to understand, you want to connect. I'm sure you've heard the saying before. If you're listening, you are listening to the Bridging Impact Podcast, transforming leaders on and off the court with host Coach Furtado. Without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast. Today's guest is, drumroll please, myself. So I'm flying solo on this episode because, long story short, I am behind on my interviews, and I want to stay consistent. I want to get back to this because I feel I love the podcast because I love, number one, learning from people that have so much great experience, knowledge, and wisdom. And I love passing that along to you all. So today's episode is inspired by someone who reached out to me on Instagram, a Bridging Impact listener, Evan Bennett. So thank you for being a listener, Evan. Yeah, that's right. If you listen, you let me know, I can give you some shout outs. So he reached out. He's a relatively newer coach to the game. Not sure how much experience, but just asked, what piece of advice would you give to me as a newer coach? And so that kind of sparked this idea that, if Evan is wanting to know, then I'm sure there's some other newer coaches out there who want to make an impact on their kids who, I could share a little bit of a piece of advice that I would just give to my younger self. And we'll just roll through. I'm going to do 3 simple kind of tidbits, piece of advice, words of wisdom, however you want to kind of parlay it. And we will begin with arguably, I think, the most important, and that is to be present with the team, the group, the kids you are training. Be present with them in that moment. I think it can be easy to want to dream on and be a college coach or the higher level coach. Maybe you're with 4-year-olds. I've coached 4-year-olds. I've coached 5-year-olds all the way up to 18, right? And so just really recognizing and understanding that the kids that you get to work with, whether it's a 1-hour session, it's a team, that is a blessing, and to give them your full focus. That's one of the best ways to become a better coach. You practice and you become a better coach by being the best coach you can be every single moment. And then number 2, that's learning, right? You want to learn from those experiences and being present. You want to make sure that you are a sponge. You're reaching out to people, whether it's like myself who have 2 or 3 years of experience and I'm still relatively a new coach, or you're listening to a lot of the great people I have on the podcast who are just incredibly knowledgeable, have a ton of wisdom, have a ton of experience. You want to continue to be a sponge. And I think one of the most important things about being a sponge is you want to make sure that you're expanding your horizons beyond what you learned. And with that being said, I feel like a lot of times it's very easy to just do the drills that we did when we were there, when in reality, we should be doing some research on our own. How can I become a better coach and trainer than the people I was before? What fits with my philosophy? What's important to me, right? Being a sponge and a learner, like my philosophy, my training philosophy has always had a core principle for me as a team coach and even for me as a trainer, right? When it comes to basketball coaching, and you may be coaching another sport, depending on what you're listening. So, you may want to tailor this if it's an individual sport. But for me, like, basketball is a very team sport. And that's one thing that I really focus on, whether it's my trainings or my coaching. When I'm training someone, I don't want to just train them on a cone, right? I have learned the importance of, making sure that there's variability in training, giving them different stimuli and making reads, and that's a whole nother episode for another day. Maybe I'll toss that on for a solo episode on what I've been learning later on. But just really expand your horizon. Go listen to there's so many great podcasts out there besides Bridging Impact. There's so many great YouTube channels besides Coach Furtado TV, right? And just make sure that you're being a sponge, whether it's 5 minutes a day that you can learn or 15 minutes a day. Try and expand your horizon beyond just looking at Instagram drills and trying them. Try and learn the nuances, learn the strength and conditioning, the biomechanics, and human movement, right? I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but just trying to be like just have an understanding and try and get a little bit better each day. And my last important tip and point is, I feel like this is my opinion. I don't know if there's scientific data to back it up. In my opinion, from what I've seen from, whether it's coaching basketball or just leadership positions, the best leaders, the best coaches are the people that connect with their athletes. And that's connecting beyond basketball. That's getting to know their families, what they like to do outside of basketball or said sport that they play. Maybe they play multiple sports. And I think the ability to connect is one of the biggest ways that you can be able to untap their potential, right? I've seen some good quality coaches, some great coaches actually that are very good at X's and O's, and they're pretty good at connecting with athletes. But I feel like if you really want to get the most, squeeze every single drop, you want to motivate athletes, you want to understand, you want to connect. I'm sure you've heard the saying before. If you're listening to this podcast, obviously you care about your professional development, your personal development, and they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And you have to show you care, right? Action speaks so much louder than words. We know that. However, we have to show that you care. And every single coach is going to do that in their own unique way. I can't tell you how to do that. You have to figure that out on your own. You have to go learn under other great coaches and continue to go and develop from there. So that's my 3 simple pieces of advice. It's number 1, be present with the group you have. Number 2, be a sponge. And number 3, develop your ability to connect. So next week, we are back on schedule. I have a fantastic coach coming in, talking about setting the tone. He is a high level coach, soccer coach, and I had a blast interviewing him yesterday, actually. So excited for that. And I'm excited to continue this podcast because I want to make an impact on as many kids as I can. And if I can help you as a coach or a parent impact your athlete more, then I am doing my job. So Coach Furtado out. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast. We'd love it if you would like, subscribe, leave a comment and a review on whatever platform you're on. It's the best way to help us grow. We appreciate you for doing that. We'll shout you out on social media. I'd also love if you connected with me on social media. Let me know your thoughts. And this is why I do it. I want to share knowledge and wisdom from experienced leaders to people like yourself and myself so we can have this dialogue and move forward, make an impact on the world. So stay tuned, stay subscribed. Cheers.